Hello, hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Kickstart Your Health Series. I'm so excited to finally start off this series. It's been something I've been, thinking about doing for a while, and we're finally going. So we're here. So just wanted to let y'all know kind of what's going on in the series if you haven't heard yet, and then we will get into the first episode. So basically, it's a 6-week series. So every week I will be here with a podcast episode. Today is the very first one. The first 3 weeks, we're going over everything nutrition. The 3 weeks after that are going to be everything for fitness. And this is all going to be kind of the basics, where to get started when you want to, start working on your health. So after the episodes air, if you're part of the series, so you just have to sign up with the link in the show notes or in the description of my podcast. You can find the link there. It's linktr.ee/alydaws. So linktree/alydaws. And in there, you'll find the sign up page. All you got to do is put in your name and your email address, and you will be part of this series. So once you're in there, not only do you get the podcasts, which of course are available for everyone, but you'll also get a recap email at the end of the day. So every Tuesday, we're airing the episode. So you'll get a recap. You will get a little quick guide. So it kind of brings everything that we talked about together on a nice one-page sheet, so you can see all the points that we went over, important details to remember, and then any tips or advice or homework type of things that you can start implementing in your life right away. That'll all be on there, so you don't have to go back and listen to the whole episode again if you missed something. And you also don't have to take notes if you don't want to, because I've done it for you. Also, as soon as you sign up, you will get a free 6-week workout plan, beginner's workout plan. So you'll start off with dumbbells, kind of learn the basic movements, and then slowly you'll progress to the barbell. So it's just a really good way to, get you started in the gym, getting confident and comfortable with all of the main movement patterns. And they're pretty simple. They're nothing too complicated. And there's video tutorials for every single exercise in there. So make sure that when you sign up, you check for that right away. And there's also going to be some exclusive offers and bonuses and just really fun things coming along. At the end of the nutrition part, I'm going to be launching my nutrition audits, which are just a very short form way to get me to take a look at your nutrition. So you'll get access to my app that I use with my clients. You'll track for about a week. We'll have a call together. You'll kind of figure out, together we'll talk about where you could improve your nutrition, what I think you should focus on moving forward. And after that call, you'll still have access to me for a couple of weeks in a texting app. So if you are part of this series, you will get early access to those. And the first 3 people to sign up from the series will actually get this for free. So that's a very big thing. If you want to take advantage of that, you have to be signed up for this series. And then the final offer will be at the very end of this series. This one's going to be a pretty big one. And that's going to be the Working Woman's Guide to the Gym. That one I'm so excited for. It's going to be super fun. Basically, it is a all-in-one course. So it's a self-guided course. There's going to be video tutorials from me on all the different exercises that you want to learn. So the main movements, your squats, your deadlifts, your overhead presses, bench press, things like that. I will teach you how to build a workout plan so that once you're done this course, after you've gone through the initial beginner or intermediate workout program, you'll know how to create your own workout programs. You'll have guides and how-tos and videos. It's going to be jam-packed with everything that you need to know to get started in the gym, or if you have been going to the gym, just to feel more confident, to make sure you're covering all of your bases, that you know everything that you really do need to know. So it's all going to be included in that course. And then, of course, if you do sign up for the series, you get early access in there. you're going to get a bonus, which is going to be pretty big. The bonus is going to be access to my workout app as well. You're going to send videos to me so that while you're working through this, while you're doing the workout plans in there, while you're creating your own workout plans, you can actually send videos to me and I will give you feedback on every single exercise that you do, every single workout that you do, so that you just get even more confidence built, especially in your form and technique, just knowing that you're going about it the right way, that you're doing the right things. And of course, that's only going to be a few limited spots for that, because that is, it does take up quite a bit of my time to go through and give feedback on every single exercise that you're doing. So you want to make sure that you're one of the first few people to get into that so you can take advantage of that. So just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of, what's coming along with this series and what's coming with some new offers that I have coming up. So let's get into today's training. So one of the very first steps, especially when it comes to nutrition, is learning what your body actually needs and how to give your body what it needs. And I find a lot of times when we go and try to, lose weight or improve our diet or improve our nutrition, we can go a little bit extreme. So there's kind of two ends that happen here. On one side, you're going to be a little bit out of connect with your body and what it needs and, when it actually feels hungry. So on one side, you are not eating when your body tells you that it's hungry, that it wants food. So this often happens when you're either dieting or you've just had these diet ideas in your head for a really long time. So you're used to, putting off eating longer because you think that it's going to benefit you in some way, right? You think if I don't eat when I'm feeling really, really hungry and I just put it off for a little bit longer, then what's going to happen is I'm not going to eat as much and I'm going to lose weight, right? That's, typically what we think when it comes to losing weight. You want to be hungry all the time so that, that you're not getting in as many calories and you're going to lose weight, right? Now, what happens with this is, yes, you can, if you're feeling hungry all of the time, that means that you're not getting in enough food and your body's going to need to burn fat for fuel, right? But what actually happens is typically most people end up having binges or giving into cravings because we've been feeling hungry for so long that we just overeat, right? So by the time we actually do eat, we are so hungry and so starving that we eat probably way more than we would have had we eaten, when we first felt like we were hungry. Because our body's trying to tell us something, right? Our body's trying to communicate with us and be like, yo, we're hungry. We need more food. Can you please feed us? And we're ignoring that, right? And the more we ignore it, the harder our body has to fight to tell us, no, we need food. Please give us some food. We need this to function. And the more you put it off, the more that craving is going to build and build and build. So this can actually end up being counterintuitive, can be counterproductive, where you think that when you're starving yourself and allowing yourself to go hungry, that you're doing something good, that you're not going to eat as much, you're not going to eat as often, so then you're going to lose weight. But what often ends up happening is the opposite of that. You're hungry for so long that your body forces you to eat even more than you would have had you not done that. So we really want to be careful when it comes to making ourselves hungry. Okay, so that's one end of the spectrum, is being hungry all the time. And then when you do eat, you overeat. And now that's not necessarily always going to be the case, but that's just something to be aware of and to be cautious of and to probably not strive for. There is a better way to do it, and we will go over that in a bit here. Now, the other end of the spectrum is where you're so out of tune with your hunger signals that you don't actually ever feel hungry, or you don't ever feel full, or you just don't really know if you're feeling emotionally hungry, like you're just bored or you're stress eating, or if you're actually hungry. And this is just when you're very out of tune with your hunger signals and your body's having a difficult time communicating with you. And when you're on this end of the spectrum, typically you're in a place where you may overeat a lot of the time, and you may be eating more than what your body actually needs, because you can't even have that communication with your body where your body's telling you, okay, we haven't eaten for a while, so I'm feeling hungry, so we should probably get some more food. You may be eating more often than you need to because you're not allowing your body time to burn through all of the food that you've already eaten. Or you're eating too much at meals and you can't tell, when you're actually full, or you're eating too fast at meals that you've kind of blown past when your body should be telling you, okay, we're done. We can stop here. And so both sides, where you're feeling hungry all the time, or where you never feel hungry, or even somewhere in between here, we want to get to a place where we are listening to our body when it tells us that we're hungry, and we eat when we're hungry, and we eat until we feel satiated. And then when we feel satiated, that sits with us for a few hours, probably a good 2 to 3 hours or even longer. And then when we feel hungry again, we eat until we feel satiated. And then it's again a few more hours until you feel hungry again. And this can be definitely different to try to work on this, because a lot of times we're either eating on a schedule. So we're eating not necessarily because we're hungry, but because it's time to eat. And a lot of times we've already packed a lunch. So we're just eating whatever is put in front of us. We'll probably eat all of it. And maybe that's too little food, or maybe that's too much food. So when you're eating on like a schedule and a routine, it's easy to get out of connect with what your body actually needs, because you're not going to need the same amount of food every single day, right? It's going to be different based on what you've done in a day. Have you worked out? Did you work out the day before? Did you have a good sleep? Are you on your period? Are you just before your period? All of these different things are really going to make an impact on how much energy your body needs in a day. So it becomes very important to get on a level where you can really have a good connection with your body and be able to tell when your body's actually hungry and when it's not. Now, I know that this can sound a little complicated or a little scary, but it's really not that bad. It takes a teensy bit of time to start kind of flipping the way you think about things and moving towards listening to your body and eating when you're actually hungry. So the goal is to get to a place where every day in the morning, you eat when you're hungry. Okay, your breakfast is going to be when you're hungry. I often wait a few hours in the morning just because I'm not hungry first thing in the morning, but some days I am. So I really just pay attention to that. If I have a workout planned earlier in the day, then I make sure that I eat something before then, because I just know that my body functions much better in a workout when I have eaten. So first meal, you want that to be when you are feeling hungry, right? And then you want to eat enough that that meal is going to last you a few hours. If you're feeling hungry like an hour or two after you've eaten, or even less than that, that is a sign that either you have not eaten enough in that meal, or it needs to be a more balanced meal. We're going to go over balancing or creating balanced meals next week, but just keep that in mind. If you're feeling hungry an hour or two after your meal, or even less, you probably need to eat a little bit more. Okay, so you eat your first meal, eat until you feel satiated, Next meal is going to be a few hours later. Okay, and we're going to follow this pattern throughout the whole day. Now, one thing that I hear a lot is, well, I often feel hungry at nighttime, and I've heard that you shouldn't eat after 6 o'clock or this many of hours before you go to sleep. Now, I want you to know that that is not true, okay? That is false. The food you eat right before you go to bed is not going to immediately be converted to fat. That is not how things work, okay? In fact, protein before bed is actually a really good idea, especially if you're somebody who works out at the gym, because your body does a lot of recovering during nighttime while you're sleeping. So if you get a little bit of extra boost of protein before you go to bed, that's just going to be even better for your recovery. Now, remember, if you're feeling hungry, real, true physical hunger, not just emotional or boredom hunger at nighttime, then your body's trying to tell you something. It's either trying to tell you, we didn't get enough food during the day, or it's been a while since dinner. We're feeling pretty hungry. So if you find yourself feeling hungry after dinner, before bed, then eat something. You don't need to go to bed hungry. That's not something that's going to be good for your body. Your body doesn't want to be hungry all the time. Your body is hungry because it's telling you you need more food. So if you're hungry at nighttime, often, like every day, plan an extra meal before you go to bed. What I like to do is I like to have something sweet, because I always feel like, I always feel like something sweet for my nighttime snack. So what I do is I take plain, no-fat Greek yogurt. It's very high in protein. I will mix that with protein powder if I want like a lot of protein, or I'll mix it with maple syrup because that's just my favorite sweetener. And I'll add in whatever I'm feeling. So sometimes I'm feeling blueberries and bananas. Sometimes I'm feeling peanut butter and bananas, or strawberries and blueberries, maybe some pecans or some almonds or some dark chocolate chips. There's so many different things you can add to this. And I have it like planned in. So I know if I eat an earlier dinner that I'm going to be hungry before I go to bed. So I will just plan to have this extra meal before I go to bed. And I know that if you plan it ahead of time, you're going to feel better about it. And if you say to yourself, I'm having this because my body is hungry and because my body wants more food, more energy, more protein, that's okay. We need to really work on how you're thinking about things, right? That's always going to be the biggest thing when it comes to making changes in your health and in your fitness routine. A lot of that stuff comes down to what you're thinking in your brain, right? So we want to think, what can I do for my body? What does my body need, right? We don't want to be thinking, how can I starve myself? How can I get smaller? Okay. That is a very negative way of thinking. We don't want to think in negative patterns because it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good when all you're trying to do is shrink your body and starve yourself. It just does not feel good. When you flip that and you think the opposite way, what does my body need? How can I serve my body? How can I make my body feel better and function better and have more energy? That feels way better, not just for your body and how you do things on an everyday basis, but it just helps you feel better about yourself too, and about your body and how you look and how you function and how you show up every day and how you enjoy food. So we really want to work on switching the way you're thinking about things from a negative to more positive and more love towards your body, as this podcast is called, the Love Yourself to Health, right? Not starve yourself to health. Because really, if you're starving, you're not healthy. So that is something to really keep in mind. If you're hungry at night, there's a good chance that your body just needs more food. Okay. So the best place to start, connecting to your hunger signals is going to be in the morning, because in the morning is when you're breaking your fast, right? In the morning is where you've gone without eating for the longest period of time. So in the morning, figure out if you're somebody who needs to eat first thing in the morning, you probably know that, and you probably have a pretty good idea of, what hunger feels like. When I was a teenager, I used to feel like nauseous if I didn't eat within like 5 or 10 minutes of waking up in the morning. And I had to eat first thing in the morning. And now as an adult, it's like completely flipped. I'm usually fine for a couple hours in the morning before I end up getting hungry. So figure out what works for you. Everybody's going to be different. I have quite a few clients who actually eat like 5 or 6 or 7 meals throughout a day because they are hungry, usually like every 3 hours. And then there's me, who I actually eat like 2 or 3 times in a day because I don't know, I like really big meals, and they usually sit with me for a good 5 or 6 hours. So figure out what works well for you. You do not have to eat, breakfast, lunch, dinner, that's it, right? Figure out what works for you. Listen to your body and what it needs. So your body's going to tell you exactly what it needs. So figure out first thing in the morning first. Really pay attention to when you're feeling hungry. And this might be easier on a weekend if you're like on a very regimented schedule during the week. I know it can be difficult to pay attention to when you're actually feeling hungry, but our bodies are really good at adapting to routines. So if you're used to doing things at the same time every day, your body's probably going to be getting hungry around those times. So just start paying attention to when you feel hungry. And when you feel hungry, eat. Do not let yourself get to the point of like an hour or 2 or longer past when you first started feeling hungry, because the longer you go feeling hungry, the easier it's going to be to binge and overeat when you do end up eating. Okay? If you can't eat in the moment, when you're feeling hungry, and you have to wait a few hours until like maybe lunch or dinner, or because you're eating with other people or anything like that, it might be a good idea to have some snacks around. And we'll go over in more detail next week how to build like a well-balanced snack so it actually sits with you. But yeah, so figure out when you're hungry during the day and then plan ahead. So if you notice that you're getting hungry between breakfast and lunch, and you still have like an hour or 2 before lunchtime, right? That's too long. We don't want to wait that long. So if you notice that that's happening often, either have a heartier breakfast that's going to keep you fuller longer, or pack yourself an extra snack to have in the middle when you first get hungry to tie you over until your next meal. And you want to do this with all of your meals during the day. I feel like this is a very common thing between lunch and dinner, especially if you work a 9 to 5, because you often have lunch around 12, and then you're not home until like 5:36. You still have to cook dinner. By the time you eat, it might be 6:30. That's like 6 hours between meals. That is a very long time. So make sure you've got a nice filling lunch, right? And then if you need to, pack yourself an extra lunch or even just a small meal, an extra snack or a small meal in between lunch and dinner. Because I know I am guilty of snacking while I'm cooking dinner because I'm just hungry and I can't wait that half an hour until dinner is made. So in order to solve that issue, I just make sure that I'm not cooking when I'm starving, and I plan ahead. So all of this is listening to your hunger signals, figuring out when you're hungry and why, okay? And then planning ahead. That's going to be a really, really big part of it, okay? So figure out when you're hungry in the day, and then figure out if you need to either make the meal larger so that it sits with you longer, or add in an extra snack or an extra meal in between, okay? So that's going to be probably the biggest thing to making sure that you're eating at the right times. And I know this is going to sound like I'm telling you to eat more food, but when you're listening to your body and you're eating when you're actually hungry instead of when you're starving, there's a good chance you're going to be eating either less than what you would be eating when you're starving, because there's a very good chance that you will overeat or binge eat when you're super, super hungry. Whereas if you just eat right when you're feeling hungry, it's easier for your body to moderate and you won't feel like you need to eat everything that is around. Okay. Trust me on this. It really does work, and it feels so much better when you're listening to your body. Now, another thing that I know can be difficult, it's a lot easier to figure out when you're hungry than to figure out when you're full. That is definitely the more challenging part. So one thing, or I have a couple tips here. First one is to wait 10 or 15 minutes after you've eaten your first serving. If you're still feeling hungry after those 10, 15 minutes, then you can go serve yourself a little bit more, maybe a quarter to half of the portion size that you just had. But most of the time, after those 10, 15 minutes, your body's had time to, have the connection go from your stomach to your brain to tell you, no, we're good. We've had enough. We're not hungry anymore. So first thing is to wait 10 or 15 minutes after and check in with yourself and be like, hey, am I actually hungry? Another thing that's going to be super helpful is to slow down when you're eating. All of us, I'm sure, eat quite a bit faster than we probably should. So another tip for you is to slow down when you're eating. When we eat so fast, our stomach does not have a chance to communicate with our brain and be like, hey, we're full now. You can stop. When we're eating super, super fast, our stomach can get full like 5 minutes before our brain knows, and you can eat a lot of food in 5 minutes, even in 1 minute, you can eat a lot of food. So slow down. Take sips of water while you're eating. You can even put your fork down between bites. That one is annoying, but it works really well. Also, just have a conversation. That's probably the easiest way to slow down your eating, is to have a really good conversation with somebody. And we're very social beings. We're very social when it comes to food too. So if you slow down, talk to your friend, have lunch with your coworkers, with your friends, and you will eat a little bit slower, quite a bit slower actually. And take the time to actually enjoy what you're eating. It makes a really big difference in how much you enjoy your meal too. When you slow down and you actually focus on what you're eating, you're going to taste it more and you're going to enjoy it so much more. And you're not going to feel like you need to go get more food because you didn't have a chance to taste it. So it's always my problem, is I would eat so fast that when I was done eating, I'd be like, but I'm sad that it's gone because I just want to keep eating it because it tastes so good. But when I actually started slowing down my eating and enjoying every single bite, I got so much more enjoyment out of that food that by the time I was done eating, I didn't feel like I needed to go get more. I didn't feel like I had missed out or eaten so fast that I didn't really get a chance to taste it. So just slowing down, being more mindful while you're eating. There's quite a few different ways you can go about doing it that I listed, but even just being more aware of what you're doing when you're eating and how long it's taking you, just slow down. Just be conscious of that. And that will allow you to get a way better reading on when you're actually feeling full and done with the food for the day. I'm going to throw in a few more tips here just because I have quite a few. When you're out, well, even eating at home, you're allowed to not eat everything on your plate. Okay? This is one thing I had to work on really hard coming out of my last bodybuilding prep, because I was so used to, having to eat absolutely everything because I tracked it. And I was also used to eating everything because my calories were so low. I wanted to take advantage of every single thing that I was eating in the day. So you're allowed to not eat everything on your plate. Now, you don't have to throw it out. I never throw out food. I do this with like my French toast, or anytime I go out to a restaurant. I take my time, I eat slow, I chat with my friends. And when I feel like I don't need any more, I put my fork down and I pack up the food and I put it away. And maybe a few hours later, I'm feeling hungry again. And would you look at that? I have food that's already made. It's a win-win. You know that you've eaten enough and your body doesn't need any more. Plus, you've got a bonus extra meal for later in the day or for the next day. So it's totally fine to not eat everything on your plate. And I know a lot of us have that ingrained in us from, our parents telling us that we have to eat everything on our plate, but we're adults now. We can do things our own way. You do not need to eat everything that is on your plate. You can stop when you're feeling full, put it away for later. And it's really funny. This was one of the things that I was the most proud of myself for when I figured out how to do it, because it had been a very long time since I had actually felt that I knew when I was full. There were a lot of times right after my bodybuilding prep where I would eat like 2 or 3 full meals in a row. Like all of my meals that I had planned for the day, I'd eat in one sitting because I just could not tell when I was full. And it was very frustrating. But I just took the time, and it does take time with things like these. You just have to be actively thinking about it and being aware. So I practiced, just going slower, listening to my body, being like, okay, what is my body telling me right now? And it didn't take me too long, only really a few weeks. But then I remember the first time where I had made myself like 3 or 4 pieces of French toast, and I only ate like 2 of them, and I put away the rest for later. I was so proud of myself because I was like, yay, I'm finally feeling like I actually don't want any more. And it was really easy. It wasn't like I was forcing myself to stop eating or anything like that. I could tell that my body just didn't need any more. And it was a really, really good feeling. So it can take a little bit of time, but just be patient with yourself. None of this stuff has to happen overnight. And you'll notice yourself getting even a little bit better every single day and just being more aware of what's really going on in your body and what your body truly does need. So that is pretty much the gist of what I wanted to go over today. Now, today I talked mostly about hunger and listening to your body when it comes to hunger. Now, this does apply to pretty much everything else. So our body wants to communicate with us always, right? You should be drinking lots of water, 2 to 3 liters a day at least. Once you get to that point, drink whenever you're thirsty, because after your body's used to having that much water, it's going to know how to regulate it and how to tell you when you need more water. So make sure you drink your water. This also applies to workouts and taking proper rest time. So if you feel like you need a day off from the gym, if your body's just feeling defeated and so sore and just like you don't feel like you can push yourself as hard as you normally do, that's fine. Your body's probably just telling you, I think we need a day off. I think we need a break, right? It can also tell you when you're doing too much. Maybe you're feeling tired all the time and your body's like, how about we don't work out 6 days a week or 7 days a week? How about we cut that back a bit, right? So pay attention to what your body's trying to tell you. Definitely start with hunger. That's going to be the thing that's going to make the most difference in so many different areas of your life. And the better you get at that, the more it can transfer over to other parts of your life, whether that's, sleep or stress or workouts, anything like that. So this will transfer over to lots of other things. Even like meditation is super helpful when it comes to stuff like this. Just throwing that out there. I'm not going to go deep into meditation during the series or today, but meditation is incredibly helpful, especially when it comes to just being more aware of what's going on in your brain and what's going on in your body, and you know what you need to listen to and what you don't need to listen to. Because there's definitely a lot of thoughts that go on in here that I don't need to listen to, and I don't realize that until I start meditating. I'm like, oh, there are some crazy thoughts going on in there, and I do not need to pay attention to those. So that is what I have for you guys today. Now, what I want you to do this week, yes, I'm giving you homework, is to just start paying attention to your hunger, okay? Figure out if you are somebody who is on the hungry all the time side and you need to eat more, or if you're on the side where you don't necessarily feel hungry or full and you kind of need to really tune into those and maybe, you know, eat a little bit less than where you're at. So there's two different sides there. Figure out what side you're on, and then work on figuring out when you're hungry, what times of the day you're hungry, if you need to add in extra meals, or if you need to wait longer between meals, if you need to make some of your meals larger or make some of your meals smaller. Just pay really close attention to those hunger signals and get really in tune with them. Okay, so that's going to be what I want you guys to do this week. Pay attention to your hunger signals and then adjust your meals and your meal times based on that. And the goal is to get to a place where when you're hungry, you eat, and then that meal sits with you for a few hours until you're hungry again, and then you eat, and you keep doing that forever. You're hungry, you eat, sits with you for a few hours. That's the cycle that we want to be in. That is the place that we want to get to. Okay. And next week, we are going to be going over how to build balanced meals. So how to make a meal that is very satiating and sits with you longer. And that's going to be a really good episode. And we'll learn a little bit more about what types of foods to eat. So this week is when to eat, right? Next week is going to be what to eat. And yeah, so make sure that you are signed up for this series. It is the Kickstart Your Health Series. The link is in the show notes, in my bio, on my Instagram, on my Facebook. I've got it everywhere. It is a linktree/alydaws, linktr.ee/alydaws to join the Kickstart Your Health series. So we've got 2 more weeks of nutrition and then 3 weeks of fitness. I'm going to be sending you guys in there an email today, recapping what we went over today. I'm going to have a nice sheet that's going to have everything in it. So you can just save all the sheets and refer back to them whenever you need to. Yeah, so that is going to be everything that I have for you guys today. And I will see you next week.